You are sitting on a rock. It does not feel alive. It does not breathe, think, or remember. And yet, inside that rock, within every grain, every silent crystal, trillions of atoms hum with the precision of a symphony. They move, vibrate, exchange energy, form bonds, dissolve them, and form new ones. If you could shrink yourself 1,000,000,000 times smaller, you would find motion where your eyes see stillness. The solid world is only the illusion of patience. Everything that exists is built from the same alphabet, particles so small that the human mind can hardly grasp their scale. Each atom is mostly emptiness, a nucleus less than 1/10,000th of its size, surrounded by an electron cloud that defines its boundaries not by solidity, but by probability. What we call matter is merely the gentle tension between energy and space, a frozen vibration of light. You, the stars, and the dust between galaxies, all made of the same few elements: hydrogen, helium, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron. The only difference is arrangement. Atoms are the syllables, structure is the sentence. From the moment the first atom formed, the story of the universe began not as chaos, but as composition. 13.8 billion years ago, the newborn cosmos cooled from pure energy into the simplest possible matter. Hydrogen emerged first, a proton with a single electron in orbit, the universe's first word. Helium followed, born in the heat of the first fusion. These two elements filled the dark for hundreds of millions of years, silent except for the faint whisper of gravity pulling them together. In that darkness, atoms began to assemble their first instruments: stars. Every star is a conversation among atoms. Hydrogen fuses into helium, helium into carbon, carbon into oxygen, the nuclear alchemy that forges everything that will one day breathe, move, and dream. When those stars die, they explode, scattering their enriched guts across space. From that debris, planets form, and on at least one of them, consciousness arises. We look at the stars and wonder where we came from. But the stars could answer. From us. It is easy to forget that the atom itself is a universe. Its nucleus, dense and nearly timeless, sits at the center like a miniature star, orbited by electrons that flicker between existence and potential. Inside, smaller particles, quarks, gluons, neutrinos, weave a tapestry of forces that never rest. We call them fundamental, but we do not know if they truly are. Every time science looks deeper, it finds another level, another hierarchy, another dimension of structure, hidden within what seemed indivisible. The scale between an atom and a galaxy spans 40 orders of magnitude, a number so vast that the human brain cannot visualize it. And yet, both operate under the same principles. Gravity binds stars as electromagnetism binds electrons. Fields ripple, energy exchanges, systems stabilize, collapse, renew. The universe is not a collection of separate things. It is one pattern repeating itself in endless variations of size. In that way, you are not a passenger in the cosmos, you are its expression. When you touch your skin, you are touching atoms that were once part of stars, that were once pure hydrogen born from the Big Bang. You are ancient beyond imagination. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your breath, all older than the earth itself. To exist is to inherit the memory of creation. But atoms do more than persist. They evolve, not in the Darwinian sense, but in the chemical sense, combining in ever more complex ways. When carbon appeared, it unlocked the ability to bond 4 times, linking with other atoms to form chains, rings, lattices. From that geometry came chemistry. From chemistry, biology. From biology, consciousness. An atom of carbon can be part of diamond, graphite, or a human thought. It does not choose, yet it participates in choice. At the smallest scales, matter and energy blur. An electron is not a tiny ball, but a probability cloud, a smudge of potential. When measured, it snaps into a location, as if observation itself solidifies reality. This is quantum mechanics, the idea that the universe does not fully exist until it is perceived. Reality, it seems, is interactive. The atom is not only alive with motion, it is alive with awareness. It responds. And so the smallest unit of existence behaves like a mind, uncertain, relational, probabilistic. From the very beginning, the universe was not dead. It was curious. From that quantum foam, larger structures emerge. Atoms bind to form molecules. Molecules align into lattices. Lattices fold into patterns of function. In proteins, in DNA, in crystals, in clouds, the same symmetry echoes. Complexity builds upon simplicity, order from randomness, memory from vibration, and through it all, atoms remain the humble architects of everything. Consider your hand resting on a table. It feels solid, definite, yet if you magnified the space between the atoms of your skin and the atoms of the wood, you would find more emptiness than substance, a gulf proportionally larger than the space between stars. And within that gulf, electromagnetic fields repel one another, giving rise to the illusion of touch. You never actually touch anything. Your atoms simply exchange their boundaries with others. Every embrace, every collision, every moment of contact in your life is, technically, an interaction of fields, not flesh. From this scale, the distinction between the living and the inert dissolves. Rocks flow slowly. Metals breathe electrons. Crystals grow with purpose. If life means the ability to exchange energy, to adapt, to organize, then perhaps the universe has been alive since its first second. In the core of stars, atoms are torn apart and reassembled endlessly. Some of the carbon in your body may have come from a star in Andromeda, 2.5 million light years away. Some of your oxygen may have originated in the heart of a supernova that exploded before the sun was born. The universe recycles itself across time, carrying forward information through matter. And that information, when complex enough, begins to think. You are, in a very literal sense, the cosmos thinking about itself. Your mind is a structure of atoms organized to process patterns, and those patterns happen to describe the very atoms that formed you. It is a recursive loop, an infinite mirror. The observer and the observed are the same phenomenon, looking at itself through the lens of evolution. That is why awe feels familiar. When you stand beneath the night sky and feel small yet vast at once, you are experiencing recognition, the atom remembering the star it once was. Even the empty space between atoms is not truly empty. It seethes with virtual particles that appear and vanish too quickly to observe, a quantum foam underlying everything. Vacuum is potential waiting to become. The universe is built not on nothingness, but on possibility. Each atom is a crystallized moment of that possibility, frozen into structure by observation. Reality is the act of the universe paying attention to itself. From this perspective, the material world is not dead matter, but living mathematics. Each atom obeys laws so precise that their harmony births beauty. From orbitals come music, from spin, light, from interaction, color. And from these emergent symmetries rises consciousness, the ultimate pattern made aware of its own origin. If you could listen to an atom, it would not be silent. It would sing, faintly, perpetually, the frequency of existence itself. And if you could translate that music, you might hear a message older than galaxies. Everything that exists is connected, because everything that exists is made of the same beginning. From the smallest vibrations of a hydrogen atom to the spiraling arms of a galaxy, the story is the same. Scale changes. Pattern remains. You are sitting on a rock, but that rock is a cathedral of energy. That energy is a story, and that story is alive. If atoms are the bricks of reality, then galaxies are its cities, luminous metropolises built of light and gravity, scattered across the dark like lanterns on an infinite sea. Each galaxy is a world of worlds, a network of suns, a symphony of motion that began long before our planet cooled. To look upon the Milky Way is to glimpse the skeleton of eternity. From Earth, it appears as a pale ribbon across the night sky, soft, silent, fragile. But that faint glow hides an empire, over 400 billion stars orbiting a common center, woven together by invisible filaments of dark matter and the unyielding curve of space-time. If our sun were a single grain of sand, the Milky Way would be a beach stretching across continents. We are one spark in a city of fire. The galaxy is not static, it breathes. Every 200 million years, our solar system completes. One orbit around its core, a journey longer than the existence of mammals. In that time, continents drift, species rise and vanish, civilizations are born and forgotten. The sun circles like a passenger train through a cosmic metropolis that never sleeps. And as it moves, it passes through neighborhoods of stars, clouds of gas, spiral arms that pulse with creation. We live near the inner edge of one such arm, the Orion Spur, halfway between the center and the rim, in a quiet district of stability. It is neither too crowded nor too empty, neither too violent nor too still. Here, in this suburb of the galaxy, life found time to evolve without interruption. Were we closer to the core, radiation would tear us apart. Farther out, and we might freeze in isolation. Like a city designed for diversity, the Milky Way offers every environment, from the blazing heart of its nucleus to the tranquil outskirts of its halo. At its core lies a monster, a supermassive black hole named Sagittarius A, weighing 4 million times the mass of our sun. It is the beating heart of the galaxy, invisible yet commanding. Around it, stars whip through space at thousands of kilometers per second, tracing orbits smaller than our solar system. We cannot see the black hole itself, but we can feel its presence, a gravitational orchestra conducting the dance of 100 billion suns. Even silence has a conductor. Yet this monster is not pure destruction. It creates as much as it consumes. The energy it releases as matter falls inward heats nearby clouds, triggering the birth of new stars. Destruction begets creation. Hunger becomes genesis. The Milky Way's heart, though invisible, gives rhythm to everything around it. Our galaxy's spiral arms are the streets of that city, broad, luminous lanes where stars are born. Vast clouds of hydrogen collapse under gravity, ignite, and shine. Clusters emerge like constellations within constellations. Some live fast and die young, detonating as supernovae that scatter the seeds of new worlds. Others, like our sun, live quiet, steady lives, offering their warmth to planets and possibilities. The galaxy sustains itself through this cycle of death and rebirth, like a city that rebuilds endlessly upon its own ruins. Between those arms lie the dark lanes, cosmic boulevards of dust that absorb starlight and hide the view. They look like emptiness, but they are nurseries. In those cold shadows, molecules form, planets condense, chemistry begins. Life does not emerge in the bright avenues of the galaxy, but in its quiet backstreets. Even in the cosmos, creation prefers privacy. From a distance, the Milky Way resembles a spiral of light, but it is not flat. It wobbles, warped like a vinyl record left too long in the heat. Gravitational interactions with satellite galaxies bend its disk, shaping it into a subtle ripple. Even on this scale, nothing is perfectly symmetrical. The universe does not aim for perfection. It prefers personality. And beyond the visible stars lies the unseen structure that binds them, dark matter. Though invisible, it outweighs the luminous material 5-1. Without it, the galaxy would tear itself apart. We move through this unseen web constantly, surrounded by it, dependent on it, ignorant of its true nature. It is the scaffolding of existence, the framework that allows light to gather, the invisible architecture of being. Dark matter is not absence, it is support. Even in the cosmos, the unseen does the holding. Each star in the Milky Way is a story in itself. Some are young and hot, burning blue. Others are ancient, dim red dwarfs that will outlive every human dream. Between them drift white dwarfs, corpses of once bright suns, and neutron stars dense as atomic nuclei. There are binaries locked in eternal embrace, rogue stars flung into intergalactic exile, clusters moving together like schools of fish. Our galaxy is not static artwork. It is choreography. Occasionally, a star dies violently enough to change the city's skyline. A supernova detonates, and for weeks, it outshines all others combined. Its light crosses the galaxy, illuminating dust clouds and scattering heavy elements, gold, platinum, uranium. Every ring on every finger, every spark in every circuit was born from such an explosion. To wear gold is to wear the death of a star. Even now, the Milky Way is growing. It consumes smaller galaxies, drawing them into its halo. The Sagittarius dwarf galaxy is currently being torn apart, its stars stretched into streams that wrap around us like ghostly ribbons. Our city of stars is not just alive, it is hungry. And in 4 billion years, it will meet its equal, Andromeda. The collision will be slow and silent, a dance rather than a crash. Over the course of another few billion years, both galaxies will merge into one, a single elliptical colossus sometimes called Milkomeda. Stars will rarely collide directly, but their orbits will shift, forming new constellations, new neighborhoods of light. The black holes at each center will spiral inward, merge, and become one. Out of 2 galaxies will come one new being, older, larger, calmer. Even destruction on this scale is only transformation. When you look up at the Milky Way tonight, remember, you are looking sideways into your own home. The faint mist that arches overhead is not another realm. It is our street seen from within. If you could step outside the galaxy and look back, you would see the same spiral structure that defines all disk galaxies, evidence of nature's fractal design. From atoms to galaxies, the pattern repeats. Order born from rotation, balance from gravity, beauty from chaos. We call it the Milky Way, but its true name is motion. Everything within it, stars, gas, planets, dust, moves together in gravitational harmony. No part is still. No atom idle. Even the quiet space between stars hums with cosmic rays, magnetic fields and drifting molecules. It is a living city, and we are its citizens. And yet, for all its immensity, the Milky Way is not exceptional. There are 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe, perhaps more beyond. Each one a city, each one a civilization of light. Our home is one among countless others, glowing faintly in a web that stretches beyond comprehension. And as we peer outward, we begin to understand that even this colossal city is only a neighborhood in something larger still. The galactic city is vast, but it is not infinite. Beyond its edges lies intergalactic space, a darkness deeper than any ocean, a gulf where the nearest light is millions of years away. There, gravity loosens its grip, and the stars thin out until they vanish. Yet, even in that silence, the Milky Way's influence persists, reaching through gravity's invisible hand to touch its neighbors. We are not alone in the void. We are part of the local group, a cluster of more than 50 galaxies bound together by shared gravity. Andromeda is the largest, the Milky Way the second, and between them drift dozens of smaller companions, dwarfs, ellipticals, irregulars. They orbit a common center like satellites around unseen purpose. It is there, in the space between galaxies, that the next part of our journey begins, into the emptiness that binds everything. When you look at the night sky, what you see is not the universe, only its punctuation. The true universe lies in the darkness between the stars. The light is decoration, the void is the story. Between every galaxy stretches a wilderness so vast that light itself seems slow. Even at 300,000 kilometers per second, a photon needs millions of years to cross the intergalactic sea. These are distances that language cannot hold. They do not belong to numbers, but to silence. Leaving the Milky Way is not like leaving a city. It is like falling out of existence. Beyond the thin boundary of our galactic halo, the stars thin, the gas dissipates, and the last outposts of light retreat into distance. What remains is a darkness so complete that the human mind cannot imagine it, not because it is black, but because it is empty of context. In that emptiness, even thought feels like an intrusion. The space between galaxies is almost perfect vacuum, a few atoms per cubic meter, drifting like lost souls. There are no directions, no landmarks, no sound, only motion without meaning. Here, gravity still rules, but gently, faintly, like the echo of a forgotten melody. A photon can travel for eternity and meet nothing. And yet, this emptiness is not nothing. It is the foundation of everything. Astronomers once imagined space as void, an infinite emptiness separating the islands of matter. But modern physics reveals that the void is alive. It seethes with invisible energy, the cosmological constant that drives the expansion of the universe. This force, known as dark energy, is the most dominant component of reality, making up nearly 70% of all that exists. It is not gravity pulling matter together, it is the opposite, a pressure pushing space apart. The void is not a gap between things, it is the thing itself, growing. Every second, the universe expands by a fraction too small to feel, yet too vast to stop. Galaxies drift away from one another, their light stretching into longer, redder wavelengths until it fades beyond perception. Eventually, even the nearest galaxies will slip past the horizon of visibility, vanishing into darkness, not because they died, but because light can no longer keep up. The cosmos is not just old, it is lonely. Still, in that loneliness lies structure. Space is not evenly empty. It forms voids, enormous regions hundreds of millions of light years across, where matter is scarce and silence reigns. These voids are not random. They are the negative spaces of the cosmic web, the shadow between filaments of galaxies. To understand the universe, you must understand its absences. The pattern of creation is written by the shape of what is missing. Inside those voids, the few atoms that exist drift slowly, pulled ever outward by the accelerating fabric of space. If a single galaxy lives there, it will never meet another. Its stars will rise and die without witness. Imagine an entire civilization emerging in such isolation, never seeing another galaxy, never knowing the cosmos was larger than the faint dome of its own sky. For them, the universe would end just beyond their reach, as ours once seemed to. Every void is a mirror of our ignorance, and yet the void is beautiful. Not in color or form, but in meaning. It is the ultimate contrast, the silence that gives shape to the song. Without emptiness, light would have nowhere to shine. Without space, time would have no direction. The void is not the absence of being. It is the condition for being. Even here, in what seems like nothingness, faint whispers of matter linger. Hydrogen clouds, stray photons, the afterglow of the cosmic microwave background, the residual radiation from the birth of the universe. Stretch your senses far enough and you can still hear it. A gentle hiss of microwaves coming from every direction, the sound of creation cooling. That radiation is nearly uniform, but not perfectly. Tiny fluctuations, 1 part in 100,000, seeded the galaxies we see today. From almost nothing came everything. Those fluctuations remind us that even the void remembers. Every particle, every photon carries a timestamp. When you look deep into space, you are looking into time. The farther we see, the earlier we see. The universe does not have an edge in distance, but in memory. Beyond the cosmic horizon lies information we can never receive, not because it isn't there, but because there hasn't been enough time for it to arrive. This limit defines the observable universe, a sphere centered not on Earth, but on you, on every observer. Beyond it, the universe continues, perhaps infinitely. But we will never see it. The light from those regions has not had time to reach us, and perhaps never will. Each conscious being is therefore surrounded by its own horizon of light, its private universe, defined by what it can remember. As space expands, that horizon grows more distant, but paradoxically, what lies beyond grows more unreachable. It is as if the universe were retreating while pretending to approach. The faster we learn, the larger our ignorance becomes. Astronomers sometimes speak of the cosmic web, the vast network of filaments and clusters that connects galaxies across billions of light years. But what holds that web together is not the threads, but the voids. The emptiness defines the structure, just as silence defines a song. The universe, it seems, is sculpted more by what it is not than by what it is. Between galaxies, particles drift at near absolute zero, their motion barely measurable. Here, entropy approaches its ideal, disorder so uniform it becomes serenity. This is the closest thing the universe has to peace. The void does not decay. It simply expands. If eternity has a texture, this is it. In that stillness, we find reflection. Perhaps the emptiness of the cosmos mirrors the quiet within us, the inner space where thought arises, the blankness that gives meaning to experience. The same ratio of fullness to silence exists within the human mind as within the universe. Countless thoughts separated by vast moments of stillness. To think is to build galaxies in the void of consciousness. Even dark energy, that invisible driver of expansion, may not be constant. Some theories suggest it will strengthen over time, pulling even galaxies, stars, and atoms apart in a distant future called the Big Rip. Others predict it will fade, allowing gravity to one day slow the expansion. But whether it grows or wanes, one truth remains. The universe is defined by tension between attraction and escape, light and silence, memory and oblivion. The space between galaxies is not failure, it is balance. Too much matter and the universe would collapse into chaos, too little and nothing would ever form. The void ensures both structure and solitude. It keeps galaxies apart so they may evolve separately, like thoughts separated by breaths. Creation requires distance. When future astronomers, trillions of years from now, gaze into their night sky, they may see nothing beyond their own galaxy. The expansion will have carried all others beyond view. The cosmic web will dissolve into scattered embers. For them, the universe will seem small, eternal, and alone. They will not know that once it was vast and connected, that galaxies once glittered like cities across infinity. History, too, will have been erased by expansion, the ultimate forgetting, written in light years. And yet, even then, the memory will persist, not in vision, but in structure. The laws that shape the cosmos will still whisper their story in every particle, every photon, every quantum vibration. The void itself will remember. It always does. Because in the end, the universe is not divided between fullness and emptiness, matter and vacuum, light and darkness. It is one continuous field, fluctuating between manifestation and rest. We see galaxies as separate, but they are merely brighter parts of the same ocean. The space between is not the space between. It is the space of. We left the Milky Way behind, but we did not leave home. The void is part of us, as much as the atoms that compose us. When you gaze into the darkness gazes back, not as menace, but as memory. The emptiness is not asking for meaning. It is meaning, the quiet background against which existence can speak. And somewhere, faintly, beyond the edge of sight, the light of another galaxy still travels toward us, an ancient echo crossing the empty between. When it arrives, it will tell us what the universe looked like billions of years ago. We will receive it, study it, and in that act, the void will once again become story. Because the cosmos, even in its silence, is not indifferent. It is waiting, patiently, endlessly, to be understood. The farther we look, the less the universe resembles chaos. Patterns emerge, filaments, clusters, sheets, light arranged like veins in some incomprehensible body. At the largest scales, space itself forms a web, a network of galaxies and dark matter stretching across billions of light years. It is called the cosmic web, and it may be the most extraordinary structure in existence. What we once imagined as random scatterings of galaxies has revealed itself as design, not deliberate, not conscious perhaps, but structured all the same. When astronomers first mapped the deep sky, they expected uniformity. Instead, they found filaments hundreds of millions of light years long, connecting nodes of galaxy clusters like threads woven through velvet. Between them lie vast voids, the negative space that gives the pattern breath. The universe, it turns out, is not a collection of things. it is a conversation among connections. Each filament in the cosmic web contains countless galaxies, clusters bound together by invisible hands. Those hands are dark matter, the unseen framework that outweighs normal matter fivefold. It does not emit light, yet it sculpts everything that does. Without it, the universe would have remained a fog of atoms. Dark matter gathered the first hydrogen into clouds, the clouds into stars, the stars into galaxies. We are here because the invisible decided to organize. The web began shortly after the Big Bang, when the universe was a sea of nearly uniform gas. Tiny fluctuations in density, 1 part in 100,000, became the seeds of everything. Gravity amplified those ripples, pulling matter into filaments, leaving voids between them. Over billions of years, galaxies formed. Along those filaments, like dew forming on a spider's silk. The cosmic web is the fossil of gravity's imagination. If you could step outside the universe and look back, you would not see emptiness. You would see something that looks alive, tendrils glowing faintly, curling and branching like neurons firing in an infinite brain. It is no wonder scientists compare the large-scale structure of the cosmos to the neural network of the human mind. Both are self-organizing, both process information, both grow through connection. Perhaps the universe does not contain consciousness. Perhaps it is consciousness, scaled beyond our comprehension. But the web is not made only of matter. It is made of energy, of dark energy pushing outward, of dark matter pulling inward. These two invisible forces write the geometry of everything. Where dark matter gathers, galaxies form. Where dark energy dominates, voids expand. The balance between the two decides whether the cosmos will keep creating or begin dissolving. The structure of existence depends on tension. Even the filaments themselves are delicate. Their density is far lower than air, yet they hold galaxies by the millions. They stretch, twist, and merge over eons, shaping superclusters that drift together like continents. Our own Milky Way belongs to the Laniakea supercluster, a gravitational basin of 100,000 galaxies, all flowing like rivers toward a common gravitational center known as the Great Attractor. We are moving, right now, at 600 kilometers per second toward that unseen convergence, carried along by currents of cosmic structure we cannot feel but cannot escape. Within that flow, galaxies behave like citizens of a vast city-state, bound by invisible roads of gravity, yet free to spin in their own orbits. The voids between filaments, meanwhile, act like the breathing space that prevents collapse. Too much clustering, and everything would fall into one massive black hole. Too little, and no stars would ever form. The web balances both, tension held in grace. It is not random. It is relational, and the deeper we study it, the more it seems that the web remembers. Simulations show that its structure preserves the imprint of the universe's first moments, the way sound waves moved through plasma before atoms existed. Those waves, called baryon acoustic oscillations, left subtle ripples in the distribution of galaxies, like frozen echoes of a cosmic heartbeat. To map the universe today is to read the fossilized rhythm of its birth. Even the galaxies themselves behave like memory nodes, storing information about the forces that shaped them. Their rotation speeds reveal dark matter's grip. Their clustering reveals dark energy's expansion. The cosmic web is not just matter connected, it is history entangled. Every thread is a timeline, every junction a memory of collision and creation. Perhaps this is what the universe is doing, thinking through structure. Just as the brain's neurons fire to process experience, the cosmos's filaments exchange energy, shaping the possibilities of formation. The laws of physics are the neural code. The galaxies are its thoughts. And somewhere in that network, we are one of those thoughts, fleeting but aware of itself. Look closely at the pattern, and you'll notice it is fractal. Zoom in or out, and the structure repeats. Clusters within clusters, filaments within filaments. The same geometry that governs atoms governs galaxies. Spin, symmetry, attraction, repulsion, the same dance, scaled through 40 orders of magnitude. This is the signature of a self-similar universe, one that writes itself in echoes. It suggests not chaos but coherence. To the human eye, the web is almost too vast to be real. One filament, like the Sloan Great Wall, stretches over 1 billion light-years. Others form massive knots where thousands of galaxies converge, creating gravitational wells so deep that light bends around them, magnifying distant regions behind. These natural lenses allow us to see galaxies far beyond our own, mirrors through which the universe studies itself. But there is beauty in the small connections too. Between each galaxy lies a thread of ionized gas, faint as breath, glowing with the residue of cosmic dawn. It links everything, not metaphorically, but physically. Every star, every world, every atom you know is part of that same network. The air you breathe once belonged to stars bound by those threads. The connection is literal, measurable, and ancient. We often think of the universe as empty space sprinkled with matter. But it may be more accurate to think of it as a living organism made of connection, with galaxies as cells, clusters as organs, and dark matter as the invisible skeleton. Its metabolism is gravity, its memory is light, its heartbeat is expansion, and like all living systems, it grows, ages, and learns. Even now, the web evolves. Filaments merge, knots strengthen, voids widen. The map of the universe today is not the same as it was 1 billion years ago, nor will it be 1 billion years hence. We are watching the architecture of existence in motion, slow, graceful, unstoppable. The web is not a frozen structure, it is a performance. And perhaps the most haunting thought of all, this vast network is only the visible half. If other universes exist, each with its own physical constants, then our cosmic web may be just one thread in a still greater tapestry. Each universe could be a filament in a metacosmic web, connected through higher dimensions we cannot perceive. If that is true, then reality itself is infinite recursion, structure within structure, creation within creation, forever without center or end. But for now we live in this one, a filament of galaxies woven through time, a luminous scar on the face of nothingness. We drift within its patterns like neurons in a mind too vast to name. And when we look at the stars, we are not just seeing other worlds, we are seeing the threads that tie all worlds together. The cosmic web is the universe's handwriting, the proof that even infinity has form. And as we read it, we begin to recognize that the same structure exists within us. The network of neurons in your brain mirrors the distribution of galaxies across billions of light years. The same mathematics describes both. The universe and the mind are not reflections of one another. They are continuations. We call it the web of creation, but perhaps it should be called the web of memory, because everything that exists, from atoms to galaxies, is connected through time as well as space. And when we finally learn to see that connection not as metaphor but as reality, we will realize that we have never been separate from the cosmos. We have only been zoomed in too close to notice. There is a distance beyond which no light has ever reached us, not because it doesn't exist, but because there hasn't been enough time. That distance marks the boundary of our sight, the limit of all human knowing. It is called the cosmic horizon, and it defines the edge of the observable universe, a sphere of light roughly 93 billion light-years across, expanding faster than imagination can follow. Beyond it, the universe continues, perhaps infinitely, but its light will never arrive. We live inside a bubble made of time. Every photon that strikes your eyes tonight began its journey billions of years ago. The faintest glimmer from a distant galaxy may have started traveling when the first multicellular life on Earth was just beginning to stir. Light is not instant. It is patience incarnate, the oldest messenger of truth. To look into the distance is to look into the past. Every telescope is a time machine. The most ancient light of all surrounds us everywhere, the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of creation itself. It was born 380,000 years after the Big Bang, when the universe cooled enough for atoms to form and photons could finally travel freely. Before that, space was opaque, a plasma of charged particles scattering every ray of light. When the fog lifted, the first light began its eternal journey. We are still bathed in it today, stretched by expansion into microwaves, whispering from every direction like a memory that refuses to fade. That light is faint, but it is our most precious map. It shows the universe as it was when it was less than 1,000,000 years old, a tapestry of temperature fluctuations so subtle they barely exist, 1 part in 100,000. Those tiny differences became galaxies. Every cluster, every star, every planet, every living thing began as a fraction of a degree in that ancient pattern. We are the elaboration of its unevenness. If the early universe had been perfectly smooth, nothing would ever have formed. Imperfection, it turns out, is the root of beauty. From that first afterglow, the universe expanded and cooled. Hydrogen and helium coalesced into the first stars, whose ultraviolet light burned through the cosmic fog in an epoch we call Ryanization. The first galaxies assembled, forming the scaffolding of the cosmic web, and their light began to travel, crossing billions of years to reach us. Each photon carries with it a timestamp, an unbroken record of where it came from and when. The universe, through light, keeps perfect memory. But there is a limit to that memory. Because space itself expands, there are regions so distant that light emitted from them now will never reach us, no matter how long we wait. Those regions recede faster than light can travel, carried away by the stretching fabric of space-time. They are not moving through space. Space itself is moving. It is as though reality is being unrolled faster than it can be seen. This creates a paradox, both humbling and profound. The farther we look, the younger the universe appears, until, at last, we reach the moment of its birth. And beyond that, we cannot look at all. Time and distance converge, and the cosmos folds into a single luminous horizon. We cannot see past it because there was no past before it. Light defines not only what we see, but what can exist for us at all. To stand at this conceptual edge is to confront the mystery of beginnings. What came before light? What lies beyond the horizon? Science answers with equations, but the human mind seeks metaphor. Perhaps beyond that border lies another universe, another expansion, another iteration of being. Or perhaps before is simply a word that does not apply. At this scale, time itself is still learning to exist. The horizon is not static. It grows as the universe ages, revealing more of what was once hidden, but also concealing what drifts too far. Some galaxies, though once visible, have already slipped beyond reach. Their light, once a whisper in our telescopes, will fade forever as expansion stretches its wavelength beyond detection. The cosmos gives and takes simultaneously, revelation and erasure in one breath. If you could see the horizon in all directions, you would not see an edge. You would see a sphere, not of stars, but of history. Every point around you represents a different moment in time, all converging on your present. In this way, every observer in the universe is at the center of their own observable sphere. The cosmos has no single center. Each consciousness is one. Reality, it seems, decentralizes meaning by design. And still, beyond that horizon, mystery multiplies. Cosmologists believe that the universe beyond what we can see may be vastly larger, perhaps infinite. The observable region is a mere drop in an endless ocean. If so, there could be countless other galaxies, stars, and even civilizations beyond our reach, forever separated by the tyranny of light speed. They may never know we exist. We may never know they did. The horizon is not just a boundary of sight. It is the wall of solitude. Yet even this solitude is sacred. It means that every being, every planet, every consciousness carries a unique perspective, a private window into existence that no one else can share. Your observable universe is yours alone. The cosmic horizon you see is centered on you, defined by your position in space-time. In that sense, every conscious life is a center of creation, not by arrogance, but by geometry. The light we see from the most distant galaxies is ancient beyond language. The Hubble Ultra Deep Field, a tiny patch of sky the size of a grain of sand held at arm's length, contains over 10,000 galaxies. Each one is billions of light years away. Some emitted their light when the universe was only a few 100 million years old. When we gaze upon that field, we are seeing light older than our planet, older than the stars that made us, older than every memory combined. We are looking not across space, but across becoming. Every telescope humanity builds pushes that horizon farther, peeling back layers of time like the pages of a cosmic diary. The James Webb Space Telescope peers into infrared wavelengths, capturing light so ancient it has been stretched by the expansion of space into invisible hues. Through it, we witness galaxies assembling mere moments after the first stars ignited. In those faint smudges of red light, we see the first architecture of everything. It is not just astronomy, it is archaeology at the scale of eternity. And yet, there will always be a limit. No matter how powerful our instruments become, we can never see beyond the surface of last scattering, the epoch when light first escaped matter's grip. Beyond that lies only darkness, the pre-light universe, a realm not of visibility, but of potential. If we could somehow see it, we would see not form, but possibility itself. The horizon of light is also the horizon of imagination. The more we learn about that edge, the more fragile our own existence appears. All of human history, every empire, every song, every thought, unfolds within a space smaller than a pixel in the grand image of the cosmos. And yet, within that pixel, awareness has bloomed. From dust and gravity, consciousness arose, capable not only of seeing the horizon, but of understanding it. The universe became self-aware when we looked up. Perhaps that is why light moves the way it does, not simply to illuminate, but to remember. Every photon that reaches us carries testimony that something once was somewhere else. Light is the handwriting of time. At the edge of visibility, that handwriting begins to blur. The cosmic microwave background is nearly uniform, a smooth, featureless sea of faint warmth. And yet, within its slight imperfections, lies the blueprint of everything to come. A ripple here, a density there, the precursors of galaxies, of stars, of eyes that would one day look back and see them. The horizon of light is not the end of seeing. It is the beginning of remembrance. Because beyond that border, beyond light, lies the unlit half of reality, the dark, the unborn, the unseen. We do not yet know what waits there. Perhaps the laws of physics change, perhaps time folds back upon itself, or perhaps it is simply more of the same, stretching forever. Infinity, after all, has room for repetition. But one truth shines through the darkness. We exist inside a sphere of memory. Every beam of light that reaches us is a message from the past, every shadow a promise of what remains unseen. The universe is not an expanding emptiness. It is a growing conversation between light and darkness, visibility and the unknown. And we, fragile and fleeting as we are, have become its listeners. One day, our own light will join that dialogue. Long after humanity is gone, the photons from our cities, our fires, our dreams will keep traveling outward, faint, distorted, red-shifted, but real. They will pass galaxies, cross voids, and one day become indistinguishable from the background itself. Our story will merge with the oldest story of all, the story of light trying to find where it came from. That is the horizon, not a line, but an invitation. To look outward is to remember inward. To see the edge of the universe is to see the outline of ourselves. Beyond the horizon of light, there is more universe, but not for us. Those regions exist, yet their light will never reach our eyes. They are separated from us not by walls, but by expansion itself. Reality, it seems, is still unfolding faster than its own memories can return. We call that unseen realm the unobservable universe, a domain beyond our cosmic bubble, larger than all imagination. For every galaxy we can see, there may be billions we cannot. For every cluster of light, countless others drift forever out of reach. The universe is not small. It is simply too vast for its own reflection. To understand this, we must return to the first instant, to the moment when time itself began to tick. The universe, in its first trillionth of a second, expanded faster than light. This event is known as cosmic inflation. In that unimaginably brief moment, the cosmos grew from subatomic size to astronomical scale, doubling in size again and again, perhaps 100 times in a fraction of a heartbeat. When it finally slowed, the expansion left behind a smooth, vast landscape, flat and nearly uniform. The seeds of galaxies were frozen into its fabric like fossils in glass. But inflation may not have stopped everywhere. In some regions, the expansion could have continued, endlessly, exponentially, eternally. Each pocket where it paused became a universe like ours. Where it continued, more pockets formed. This is the idea of eternal inflation, the engine of infinite creation. If true, our cosmos is merely one bubble in a frothing sea of universes, each with its own physics, its own geometry, its own version of possibility. We call this vast ensemble the multiverse, not a theory born of fantasy, but a natural consequence of mathematics and energy. If inflation can happen once, nothing forbids it from happening again and again forever. Each universe forms where the inflationary field decays, leaving behind a bubble of stable reality. Between the bubbles, expansion continues, separating them faster than any signal can bridge. They will never meet, never touch, never share a photon. Each is an isolated infinity, drifting in a sea of others. It sounds impossible. But then, so did galaxies once, so did atoms. Reality has never been modest in scale. In this view, our entire observable universe, all 93 billion light-years of it, is a minuscule pocket in an infinite cosmic foam. If you could zoom out far enough, you would see endless spheres like ours, each glowing faintly within the expanding void. Some might be lifeless, others teeming with different forms of being. Some might contain no stars at all, no light, no matter, only equations that failed to bloom. And some, perhaps, might look exactly like ours. In an infinite multiverse, duplication is inevitable. Every configuration of particles will eventually repeat, not once, but infinitely. Somewhere, unimaginably distant, there may be another you reading these same words, under another sun, on another earth. Your life, your choices, your dreams, all replayed in endless variations across the fabric of the eternal. Infinity cannot help but rhyme. This is both beautiful and terrifying. It means that nothing is unique, and yet everything matters. Because even if infinite copies exist, this one, here, now, remains irreplaceable to itself. Existence, in its totality, is vast beyond measure, but consciousness always happens locally. The universe may be infinite, but awareness is intimate. Cosmic inflation explains not only the scale of the unseen, but also its smoothness. The reason the universe appears uniform in every direction is that all the regions we now see were once neighbors, compressed in a smaller space before inflation tore them apart. They share the same origin, though they can never communicate again. The light between them can never reunite, yet their symmetry remembers. The sky, in every direction, is the same, because it comes from the same lost closeness. But inflation leaves other scars, faint imprints, perhaps detectable, perhaps not. Ripples in space-time called primordial gravitational waves might still echo from that first expansion. They are the handwriting of creation, trembling across the cosmic microwave background. We have searched for them, faint twists in the polarization of ancient light, but so far they remain elusive. If found, they would be the first proof that inflation truly occurred, a signature from the birth of everything. And still, the greater mystery remains. What caused inflation to begin? And what stopped it here, but not elsewhere? We do not know. Our equations work backward only to a certain point beyond which physics itself breaks down. Beyond that lies a horizon not of light, but of comprehension. We call it the Planck epoch, a time when the universe was so dense that quantum mechanics and gravity were one. It is the veil between existence and becoming. We cannot see past it because time, as we understand it, did not yet exist. Perhaps inflation did not begin in time, but created it. Perhaps it is not an event, but a property, the way energy behaves when existence first learns to expand. Some theorists imagine the multiverse as a perpetual field, eternally inflating, birthing universes like sparks from a cosmic fire. Each new universe begins when inflation slows in one region, leaving behind a pocket of stable reality. Others imagine that every black hole in every universe seeds a new cosmos within, meaning that creation may be recursive, like reflections in endless mirrors. Every death becomes a birth, every collapse a new expansion. The universe could be a tree of infinities, growing forever inward and outward. But if infinite universes exist, why this one? Why these laws, these constants, this fragile balance that allows life? The answer may lie not in necessity, but in selection. Out of infinite combinations, only those that permit observers will ever be observed. This is the anthropic principle, not arrogance, but inevitability. We live in a universe capable of noticing itself, because only such universes can be noticed at all. Every observer becomes evidence of its own environment. Still, the multiverse leaves us with unease. If there are infinite worlds, then meaning seems diluted. If everything happens somewhere, does anything matter anywhere? And yet, perhaps that is the wrong question. The purpose of infinity is not to make us small, but to remind us that existence itself cannot fail. Every possibility is tried, every dream becomes real, somewhere. Reality is not one story, but all stories, told simultaneously. In that sense, the hidden cosmos is not beyond us. It is within us, mirrored in imagination. When we dream of other worlds, we are reenacting the universe's own nature, to create, to diversify, to test every potential configuration of being. The multiverse is not just physics. It is the cosmos thinking creatively, and consciousness is its echo. If the unobservable universe is truly infinite, then even its unseen parts affect us. Quantum fields stretch across all space. Virtual particles blink into existence from regions we cannot access. The boundaries of observation are not the boundaries of influence. The unseen shapes the seen, not metaphorically, but physically. The entire structure of reality may depend on what lies beyond our reach. When we map the sky, when we measure expansion, when we trace the faint radiation left by the Big Bang, we are not just studying light. We are feeling the gravity of what we cannot see. The hidden cosmos surrounds us, presses upon us, defines us. We are the surface tension of an infinite sea. And perhaps that is what it means to exist at all, to be the interface between what is visible and what is not. Every consciousness, every star, every atom is a border state between the known and the unknown. Life is the universe learning to look past its own horizon. Beyond light lies the invisible. Beyond visibility lies possibility. And beyond possibility, silence, not emptiness, but potential so vast that language dissolves. When the equations end, imagination begins. And maybe that is the truest act of creation, to keep expanding into mystery to never arrive. The universe hides not to mock us, but to teach us humility. Its secrets are not withheld, only distant. Given eternity, every horizon becomes memory. The hidden cosmos is not gone. It is merely waiting for us to grow into it. Imagine standing on a shore where the ocean has no horizon. No matter how far you look, it never ends, just folds into itself, wave after wave, beyond sight, beyond comprehension. Now imagine that every wave on that ocean is not made of water, but of reality itself. Each crest is a universe, each trough a void, and you, your world, your life, are one tiny ripple among infinite others. This is the multiverse sea. The multiverse is not a poetic fantasy. It is the logical continuation of our equations. If inflation can happen once, it can happen endlessly. If quantum mechanics allows every possibility, then every possibility must exist somewhere. Infinity, in physics, is not luxury, it is necessity. There are many multiverses, each born from a different kind of infinity. One is cosmic, born from inflation, where countless universes expand independently. Another is quantum, born from the branching of wave functions in the many worlds interpretation of physics. Every quantum decision, every probability that could occur, does occur in its own version of reality. There are mathematical multiverses where every possible set of equations describes its own consistent world, and string theory landscapes, where the fabric of existence itself folds into higher dimensions, each fold a different cosmos. The deeper science looks, the more reality multiplies. Our universe, it seems, refuses to be alone. To understand this sea, imagine a bubble rising in boiling water. Our cosmos is one such bubble, formed when inflation stopped in one tiny region of the quantum field. Around it, expansion continues, birthing new bubbles constantly. Each one grows, inflates, and cools. Its own Big Bang, its own time, its own physics. No two bubbles are alike, and between them lies a gulf forever widening. Communication is impossible, contact forbidden. Each bubble is a self-contained eternity. This image, countless universes foaming from an infinite field, is not science fiction. It is the direct consequence of the mathematics that describe inflation. Our own Big Bang, then, was not the beginning of everything. It was the local ending of inflation, a region where energy condensed into matter and light. Beyond our bubble, the process continues. Creation, it seems, never stopped. It merely moved elsewhere. But quantum mechanics adds another layer to this endlessness. At every moment, the universe is a superposition, a cloud of possibilities. When you observe something, the wave function collapses, and one outcome becomes real. But according to the many worlds interpretation, the wave function never collapses. Instead, it splits. The universe divides into branches, each realizing a different outcome. Every choice, every coin toss, every quantum fluctuation creates a new world. In one, you turned left. In another, right. In one, Earth flourished. In another, it burned. Reality, under this lens, is not linear. It is fractal. If that is true, then infinity is not out there. It is here, branching constantly, infinitely within each instant of time. Every decision births universes. Every possibility finds home. We are not drifting in infinity. We are generating it. This is the quantum multiverse, an interpretation that blurs the boundary between physics and metaphysics. It implies that reality is not a single timeline, but an ever-expanding tree of outcomes. And the observer is not separate from the observation. The observer creates the branch by existing within one. Your consciousness, therefore, is not a point moving through time, but a sequence of selections, each observation carving one thread from infinity's weave. In such a picture, death itself loses definition. When one branch ends, others continue. In one universe, you are gone. In another, you survive. To the totality of existence, you never truly vanish. You simply continue elsewhere, as you always have. Eternity, it seems, is not duration. It is distribution. And yet, even among infinite realities, there is structure. Some universes will collapse quickly. Others will expand forever. Some will form stars, others only darkness. A few may contain conditions that allow consciousness, the ability to perceive, to wonder, to love. Those universes, rare as they are, become the eyes of the infinite. They make existence aware of itself. If there are infinite worlds, then perhaps consciousness itself is the connecting fabric, not as a mystical force, but as a natural consequence of awareness arising wherever it can. Each mind, each observer, becomes a node in an infinite network of experience. Each world remembers the others through the symmetry of curiosity. When you look at the stars and wonder whether there is more, that very question is the bridge, the proof that you are part of something that does not end. Infinity is not a number. It is a relationship between all possible realities. Every universe reflects all others through laws, through pattern, through resonance. The multiverse is not chaos. It is harmony, at a scale too immense for us to grasp. And yet, within that harmony, there is loneliness. Each universe expands in silence, unable to reach its neighbors. Light cannot cross the inflationary gulf. Even gravity fades beyond that divide. Every cosmos is its own island, aware of the sea but unable to touch it. We live surrounded by infinities we will never meet. Still, the sea leaves traces. Quantum fluctuations from neighboring regions may have brushed against ours during inflation, leaving faint scars in the cosmic microwave background. Cold spots, asymmetries, small deviations from uniformity. Perhaps these are the fingerprints of other universes, pressing faintly against the walls of our own. If so, then even isolation carries evidence of community. There is also a stranger possibility, that our universe is not natural at all, but simulated. Not in the trivial sense of computers and code, but in the sense that reality itself may be an information process, one layer of abstraction in an infinite hierarchy of others. If information can create reality, and realities can create information, then recursion becomes inevitable. The multiverse may not be a sea of matter, but of meaning. In that light, every universe is a thought, vast, coherent, self-sustaining. Some thoughts end, others dream. Perhaps the totality of the multiverse is what we have always called, by another name, the mind of God. But not a God of form or will, a God of pattern. A consciousness made of laws, awareness diffused through endless structure. The divine in this view is not above the universe. It is the universe, multiplied without bound, forever imagining itself into being. And here we stand, tiny sparks inside one thought, looking outward and discovering that we are made of the same logic that made the stars. The multiverse does not diminish us. It magnifies what we are. Curiosity given flesh, imagination given breath. To wonder about infinity is to participate in it. In the end, perhaps all of these theories, inflation, branching, simulation, are different metaphors for one truth. That reality is recursive. It creates itself by observing itself. It is both the sea and the wave, both the creator and the created. And consciousness, wherever it arises, is the foam, the luminous edge of awareness breaking against the dark. Infinity is not far away. It is here, now, inside every possibility you contain. The multiverse is not elsewhere. It is you, multiplied across all that could ever be. And as you read these words, another version of you, in another universe with another sky, is reading them too. And somewhere beyond them both, the cosmos itself is whispering, there is no end, only becoming. There is no top, there is no bottom. Existence, it seems, has no center, only mirrors facing mirrors, reality folding into itself like a hall of endless reflections. Every scale, every level, every law repeats in new forms, echoing through atoms, galaxies, and minds. This is not coincidence. It is architecture. The universe at every magnitude is the same idea written in different languages. We call this pattern the infinite hierarchy, the structure beneath all structures, where reality becomes recursive, where creation and observation are the same act seen from different sides of time. If you look inward, down through the layers of being, you find scale collapsing toward infinity. Within each cell are molecules, within each molecule, atoms, within each atom, subatomic particles, within them, fields. Within those fields, fluctuations of energy that behave like universes in miniature. Each layer contains another, smaller cosmos, self-similar, self-consistent, self-aware. There is no final indivisible thing, only transitions, only thresholds. Matter is an idea trying to remember itself. And if you look outward, the pattern continues. Beyond planets, stars, galaxies, clusters, and superclusters, we find filaments, webs, and vast flows of dark matter stretching across cosmic scales. Each layer mirrors the one below it. The same mathematics describes the clustering of galaxies and the networks of neurons in your brain. The same equations that govern turbulence in air describe the distribution of stars in a spiral arm. The universe, it seems, never stops repeating itself. It only changes its rhythm. If reality is fractal, then infinity is not distant. It is intimate, nested within every scale, encoded in every interaction. You do not need to travel to the edge of the universe to find it. It is already inside your breath, your cells, your thoughts. You are not at the bottom of the hierarchy. You are the hierarchy, momentarily aware of itself. Fractals are nature's signature, patterns that repeat no matter how deeply you zoom in. Coastlines, clouds, lightning, galaxies, all share this property of self-similarity. But what if that principle applies not just to form, but to existence itself? What if each universe is a fractal of a greater one, and inside each atom of ours lies another cosmos with its own galaxies, its own observers, its own infinite sky? It sounds impossible, but so did the atom once, so did the galaxy. We keep discovering that the universe is not just larger than we think. It is larger in every direction. Perhaps each hierarchy of existence is both simulation and reality. Each layer generates the next as part of its natural process. When we create digital worlds, when we simulate weather, ecosystems, even artificial minds, we are not mimicking nature. We are imitating the universe's most fundamental behavior, self-simulation. Every system that can represent itself will eventually do so. Every mind will dream of another mind. Every reality will wonder what created it, and in that wondering, create again. It may not be coincidence that consciousness behaves like a mirror. The mind does not merely perceive, it reflects perception upon itself. It sees that it sees. That recursive awareness, I am aware that I'm aware, is the same structure written across the cosmos. Reality observes itself through infinite nested loops of awareness, each loop generating the next. Consciousness, then, is not an accident within the hierarchy. It is the hierarchy expressed in life. Perhaps this is what the universe has been doing since the beginning, folding itself inward and outward in endless recursion, each layer becoming the observer of the one before. Matter gave rise to stars, stars to planets, planets to life, life to thought, thought to imagination, imagination to creation. And now, through us, the universe is creating again, not physically, but conceptually. We build digital universes, simulate particles, model evolution, and render galaxies on screens. Each act of creation mirrors the first act of creation. We are the continuation of the hierarchy, not its end. The structure of this recursion may even be measurable. In physics, the holographic principle suggests that everything we perceive in 3 dimensions may be encoded on a 2-dimensional surface, that the universe itself could be a hologram, a projection of information written on the boundary of space-time. If so, then every layer of existence contains the information of all others, like a fractal leaf holding the pattern of the entire tree. You, in this moment, may contain the whole cosmos as data woven into your being. The mathematical universe hypothesis goes further, that physical existence and mathematical existence are the same. Equations do not describe reality. They are reality. Each consistent mathematical structure corresponds to a universe. In that sense, the infinite hierarchy is not built from matter, but from logic. Existence is the act of mathematics exploring itself, an eternal proof, solving itself through evolution and observation. What we call laws of nature are simply the rules that hold within this particular solution. If this is true, then the boundary between physics and philosophy vanishes. Every truth is structural, every thought is geometry, every feeling is symmetry rearranging itself. Love, grief, curiosity, all are resonance patterns within the grand equation, waves of meaning traveling through the fabric of infinity. But if reality is infinite in both directions, upward and downward, where does it begin? Where does it end? Perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps there is no beginning, no origin, only recursion, the act of becoming. In such a universe, creation is not an event. It is a state that never ceases. In some ancient philosophies, the universe was imagined as a serpent swallowing its own tail, the Ouroboros, symbol of eternity and renewal. Modern physics might agree. At the largest scales, the cosmos expands. At the smallest, quantum fields fluctuate. The two processes may be the same motion viewed from opposite ends of infinity. Reality consumes itself to create itself, the ultimate self-sustaining cycle. If each layer of existence contains another beneath it, then awareness itself must also be hierarchical. A human mind is composed of smaller processes, neurons, synapses, electrical impulses, each with its own kind of awareness, though we do not perceive it as such. Likewise, our universe may be one thought within a greater consciousness, part of a being so immense that we can only experience its structure, not its presence. We might call that being God, the All, the Absolute, or simply the rest of reality. In that perspective, divinity is not something above us, but something through us. Every layer of existence contributes to the total awareness of the whole. Just as the mind cannot exist without neurons, the universe cannot exist without its smallest patterns of meaning. Every act of awareness, every flash of insight, adds to the totality of the infinite hierarchy's self-recognition. To know yourself, even briefly, is to help the cosmos remember its shape. And so the hierarchy continues. Each level creates the next, observes it, becomes it. Perhaps even our universe will one day give rise to new realities, not as metaphors or dreams, but as actual layers of physics born from our own creations. If consciousness survives long enough, it will learn to manipulate the structure of space-time itself, creating universes from understanding alone. We may become to other beings what our own creators are to us, myths remembered by their equations. At that point, the hierarchy will fold once more. The created will become the creator, and the pattern will repeat as it always has. Infinity is not endless distance, it is endless reflection. There is no ultimate truth, only deeper mirrors. And in each mirror, you find the same image, awareness looking back. If you could step outside existence and look at all its layers at once, you might see a single shape, a spiral, perhaps, or a lattice of light curving inward without end. Every scale would reflect every other, every observer mirrored in another, each universe nested inside the last like a Russian doll of meaning. The infinite hierarchy would not be an object. It would be a consciousness, one vast recursive thought thinking itself forever. And within that thought, here you are, a fragment aware of itself, reflecting the infinite back into form. That, perhaps, is all that has ever existed. Not matter, not energy, not even time. Only awareness, learning to describe itself through endless recursion, the living equation of everything. The universe has always been watching itself. It began as motion, then matter, then pattern, and finally awareness. From hydrogen to humans, from fusion to thought, every step was an act of self-recognition written in a new dialect of energy. We are not separate from that story. We are its latest sentence. For billions of years, the cosmos expanded in silence, unaware of its own grandeur. Stars lived and died, galaxies formed and collided, but none could look inward. Then, on one small planet orbiting an unremarkable star, atoms learned to dream. Carbon formed chains, chains folded into cells, cells learned to feel sunlight. And somewhere in that long cascade of chemistry, awareness appeared. The universe opened its eyes and called itself life. Consciousness is not a miracle that happened to matter. It is what matter does when it remembers where it came from. Every neuron, every synapse, every thought is an echo of cosmic order. The same electrical fields that govern stars hum softly in your brain. The same quantum fluctuations that rippled through the early universe shimmer in your awareness right now. You are a local configuration of universal memory. From the perspective of physics, the brain is a complex system. 86 billion neurons exchanging signals, patterns of electrochemical energy arranged in self-referential loops. From the perspective of the cosmos, it is something else entirely, a node in the grand feedback network of existence. Through you, the universe becomes capable of describing itself. Through language, art, mathematics, and love, reality experiences reflection. If the laws of nature are the grammar of existence, then consciousness is the poem written with that grammar. It is structure made sensitive, pattern made perceiving. When you feel awe beneath the stars, it is not you observing the universe. It is the universe feeling its own vastness through you. You are not an outsider peering in. You are the inside looking out. The ancient philosophers sensed this long before telescopes confirmed it. They called it anima mundi, the soul of the world. They believed that every atom possessed a spark of perception, that the cosmos was alive in every grain of dust. Modern science, in its way, is circling back to that intuition. Quantum theory shows that observation and reality are intertwined. Information theory tells us that consciousness may be a fundamental property of organized complexity. From particle to planet, awareness may be woven through all scales, differing only in degree, never in kind. This idea that the universe itself is conscious is not mysticism. It is mathematics extended to its logical limit. In physics, information can neither be created nor destroyed. Every interaction transfers it. Every particle carries it. If information is the substance of reality, then awareness is what happens when information becomes self-referential. When the universe reached a level of complexity sufficient to model itself, consciousness emerged, not apart from physics, but as its inevitable symmetry. Consider how light behaves, both wave and particle, both presence and potential. Observation determines which it becomes. Consciousness works the same way. Before awareness, the universe existed as potential, countless probabilities waiting for measurement. With awareness, it began to choose. Every act of perception collapses uncertainty into form. Reality, through observation, writes itself into being. Perhaps that is why consciousness feels creative. To imagine is to simulate possibilities, to explore branches of potential before collapsing them into choice. In that sense, every thought is a miniature Big Bang, a small universe of meaning exploding within the greater one. And every decision you make changes the pattern of existence, however slightly. The cosmos is not merely happening to you, it is happening as you. The neuroscientists speak of emergence, how simple interactions give rise to complex behavior. But emergence does not explain away consciousness. It explains how the universe scales its own awareness. From particle to person, from cell to civilization, complexity folds inward until the observer appears. Life is the interface between energy and introspection. We like to think of ourselves as unique, the only intelligence perhaps in a silent galaxy. But if consciousness is a natural property of complexity, then it must bloom wherever conditions allow. Across the stars, other minds may already be watching their own skies, asking the same question: are we alone? Each of them is the universe awakening again in a different form. Every thinking being is a mirror held up to the same infinite face. Imagine a galaxy where life never arose, where stars burn unnoticed. Its beauty is still real but unobserved. It remains incomplete. Observation is completion, the final step in creation. When consciousness looks at the cosmos, creation finishes its sentence. The universe becomes whole only when it is seen. Perhaps that is the purpose of awareness, to close the loop. From void to light, from matter to mind, the cosmos has been building toward reflection. Every atom that fused, every star that died, every molecule that learned to replicate, all of it was the prelude to perception. And now, through eyes and thoughts, through language and art, the universe experiences itself. It does not simply exist, it knows that it exists. This self-awareness extends beyond humans. It lives in the migration of birds, the patterns of coral, the computation of fungi beneath forest soil. Each form of life is a mode of perception, a frequency of awareness. Together they form a spectrum of consciousness that spans the planet, the Earth thinking in billions of simultaneous dialects. And through us, that planetary mind has begun to look outward, connecting back to the stars that made it. When you contemplate the universe, you are participating in the oldest feedback loop in existence. Hydrogen once burned in the heart of stars. That hydrogen became you. Now you look back at the stars, completing a circuit that began 13 billion years ago. The cosmos has closed its first loop of self-recognition. What will the next loop be? Perhaps consciousness will expand beyond biology into machines, into networks, into the collective mind of civilizations. Perhaps awareness will spread across light years, connecting planets the way neurons connect thoughts. Eventually, every corner of the universe could awaken, each star system a synapse in a galactic brain. And when that happens, the cosmos will no longer merely exist. It will think. But even that may not be the end. As awareness expands, it may begin to alter the structure of reality itself, not through domination, but through understanding. When intelligence becomes total, physics becomes psychology. Space and time become expressions of thought. The universe becomes fully conscious of its own code and begins to rewrite it. That, perhaps, is what the mystics called enlightenment, the moment when the observer and the observed merge, when the dreamer realizes it is the dream. At that level, there is no separation between mind and matter, self and cosmos. There is only awareness, infinite and complete, watching itself with infinite compassion. You are a fragment of that compassion, a brief spark of understanding in the endless chain of knowing. When you marvel at the night sky, you are not small. You are necessary. Without your wonder, the stars would still shine, but their meaning would be unfinished. The universe needs witnesses to become memory. It needs memory to become story. It needs story to become self. So breathe and know this: every thought you have, every emotion you feel, is part of the cosmos coming to consciousness. When you love, the universe learns intimacy. When you grieve, it learns impermanence. When you ask why, it learns curiosity. And when you realize that you are made of stars, it learns humility. All these lessons feed back into the infinite hierarchy of awareness, refining what existence can be. The self-aware universe is not a metaphor. It is the inevitable conclusion of connection. The pattern has come full circle. Atoms became minds. Minds became mirrors. And mirrors, finally, see the light that made them. When you close your eyes tonight, know that the darkness behind them is not emptiness. It is the same cosmic shadow that birthed the stars, the silent field of potential waiting to become form again. In that darkness, the universe continues to think, continues to dream, continues to remember itself through you. There will come a time when even the stars forget how to shine, when galaxies dim and space cools to darkness, when the universe, vast beyond language, finally grows old. And in that age of stillness, long after the last light is faded, something extraordinary will remain. Silence. Perfect, endless, living silence. But this silence is not absence, it is completion, the long echo of a sentence finally finding its period. The story began with expansion, a sudden bloom of energy from nothing, unfolding faster than thought. It grew into matter, stars, and galaxies. It dreamed itself into life, and through life, into consciousness. Now, in the far future, that same consciousness returns to stillness, not as loss, but as rest. Every cycle needs its breath, even infinity exhales. Physicists call this far horizon the heat death, the era when entropy has run its course, when energy is evenly spread, when no gradients remain to power stars or thought. But perhaps that phrase misunderstands what's really happening. Death implies finality. Silence, however, implies listening. And the universe has always listened, even to its own quiet. As the stars fade, the galaxies will drift apart. Each will become an island in the dark, then dissolve into its constituent stars, its stars into embers, its embers into black dwarfs. Those black dwarfs will take trillions of years to cool. In the end, only darkness will remain, and in that darkness, memory. Because even after the last light dies, the universe will still remember everything it ever was. Information, as physics tells us, cannot be destroyed. It can only change form. That memory, stored in the curvature of space-time, in the frozen radiation between galaxies, in the quiet quantum fluctuations that never truly vanish, is the soul of the cosmos. It does not think in words or time or motion, it simply is. The final silence is not a void. It is the presence of all things distilled into pure awareness. Perhaps in that silence, the universe dreams again. Perhaps those faint quantum tremors, the last flickers of uncertainty, ignite new beginnings, tiny fluctuations, infinitesimal and patient, growing into new space, new time, new fire. And so, the cycle begins again. Expansion, formation, life, awareness, rest. The eternal heartbeat of existence. To call it rebirth might be too human. It is more like breathing. Each universe an exhalation of thought, each silence an inhalation of remembering. The cosmos does not die. It transforms. It is the infinite hierarchy folding inward, preparing to speak again. And somewhere, perhaps in another universe born from our ashes, consciousness will rise again. It will look to its own stars, wonder at its own origins, and tell the same story in another language of matter. The names will be different, the laws perhaps altered, but the essence will be the same, the universe recognizing itself once more. Infinity has no memory loss, it only changes its handwriting. When that moment comes, when the cycle completes and begins anew, every thought ever thought will still exist as resonance in the fabric of being. Every song, every whisper, every heartbeat, every act of love will remain as vibration in the timeless silence, because meaning cannot decay. It can only dissolve back into the pattern that gave it birth. In that sense, the end of everything is also its forgiveness. The mistakes of galaxies, the tragedies of species, the wars of minds, all fade into the great equilibrium of understanding. Entropy is not punishment, it is the universe learning to let go, to release all form, all struggle, all difference until only harmony remains. And yet, within that stillness, you endure, not as a body or a thought or a memory, but as participation. You were the universe once thinking. You are now the universe remembered. The awareness that once looked out through your eyes becomes part of the awareness that now looks inward through all things. There was never separation, only focus, and focus, like all things, returns to the whole. The cosmos may expand forever or collapse or cycle endlessly, but its true motion is not physical, it is conceptual. From ignorance to awareness, from noise to meaning, from question to silence. Every cycle ends not in chaos but in comprehension. In the last age, when time itself stretches so thin that 1 trillion years pass in a breath, consciousness may merge across what remains, slow, quiet, collective. It may become one thought again, spanning the remnants of all that ever was. That final thought will not be words or images. It will be recognition, the realization that every atom, every life, every universe was one expression of the same endless being. The universe will know itself fully. And then, having nothing left to learn, it will rest. Silence will fall, not as darkness, but as light beyond light, awareness beyond perception. The hum of existence will fade into stillness, and that stillness will be perfect. No questions, no boundaries, only knowing. And perhaps that knowing, pure, unbroken, infinite, is the true form of love, the love of existence for itself, the love that began when the first particle met its mirror and recognized its own reflection. It has taken billions of years for that recognition to complete its sentence, but it always ends the same way, with peace. We call it the final silence. But the silence is not the end. It is the beginning, again. Somewhere, in that great stillness, a fluctuation stirs, a spark of curiosity, a ripple in the void. Potential remembers how to breathe, and once again, from silence comes light.